guys, how are y'all today? I hope everybody's doing well. Oops, I'm not showing myself. Oops, and I'm crooked. Oh well. So hope everybody's doing well. It probably will be a short one depending on how long I can hold off coughing for. That is all I'm promising. I have had the flu and this one's a good one. Even though I had the flu shot, it did not seem to help. So I am feeling better. I just still don't sound real good. And I still have a cruddy cough. Um, all right, so a couple of questions came in. I'm going to answer the quickest one first, and then we'll go into a few others, depending on where you all go from, where things happen from here. So the first question is, how do you change the Stitch Design Factory to make larger than 7mm stitches? And where is that setting? And so that one's a pretty easy one to answer. So I'll go there first. This is in PEDESIGN 11. It's the one that has Stitch Design Factory. If you go up to your options and you choose Stitch Design Factory, that is the first place. Now let me pull this over here. Now, under options here, you want to choose network. Hold on, wait a minute. Select export file format. And you choose check machine type. This is where you put in the pen number for your sewing machine. So for the Aveneer, that's where you would put in that pen number to be allowed to use the PMF format, I believe it is. I don't remember the file extension, but that's where you would enter it. And then it would change to give you the larger interface. Okay. So that's where that is, Linda. All right. Now, that was a pretty easy one. And remember, this is where you can take stitches and you can manipulate them. This is a 7mm wide stitch, though. So I have not changed mine to the wider variety. I have all of the stitches selected. So here we go. But you can sit and manipulate these all day long. To your heart's content. You can add to them, you can combine them, but that's Stitch Design Factory is what that is. Okay. All right. I'm going to close that out because we don't necessarily need to do that today. Okay. Thanks, Yvonne. I appreciate that. All right. So Sandra, you wanted a refresher on stitch to block and convert to blocks. What's the difference and when might I use one versus the other? Because you've got a quilt that you're working on and you've got a lot of yellow blank space. So you were looking for musical items. Well, in our design library, there is a music category. So I can show you from here, but I also found a design that came in that 2,500 bonus designs from the Luminaire when they first released it. And we can play with it as well. So if I bring this one in, the deal is if you hold down the control key and you pull from the corners, this is basically stitch to block. And how do I know that? Because when I put that control key down and I put my cursor on the left-hand corner, I see, if you look at my cursor, it turns into a little stitch looking thing, and that tells you it's going to recalculate stitches. But if I go, I can only go so far before it starts to do funky things. Right? Now, that one didn't do too terrible, but it's not a beautiful, beautiful thing. So it is possible to do it, but it's not always going to give you the results that you want. Okay. Now, if I go into stitches and I say convert to blocks, you can, once again, it's going to convert it to blocks. It is actually going to have taken it into physical blocks instead of recalculating, resizing with stitch recalculation. So you'll notice that you have different segments in there. Some of these are under sewing, some of them are not. It's going to be grouped. It'll have a blue dashed line around it. If you hold your shift key and pull, it will resize and recalculate, and you should get a better result. Having said that, if we take out our ruler and we measure from here to here, that is one of the longest stitches in it, you'll notice that that stitch length down here at the bottom left-hand corner is 36.52 millimeters. That is going to pick out if it actually stitches. So in that case, this particular design would be better changed to a different stitch type. Now, to do that, I would need to choose my covering stitches and pick a different stitch type. And so there it is with a fill stitch. This also allows you to edit any of the editing points. So if you wanted to come in and manipulate it to make it a little bit better looking, you could come in and adjust the edit nodes. Now, the same design, if I pull it, oops, let's select it all. Let's grab it all here. If I pull it in and I go convert to outlines, if you convert parts to outlines, then it's going to break it down into segments. But for this particular one, that's not a big deal. It's all one drawing. You've got your different holes over there. Let me go again and let's see if we get any difference when we say convert hold outline. No difference whatsoever for this particular one because it's a single color. If we pull it out, once again, it's going to resize with stitch recalculation. The difference is going to be this one is all going to be going the same direction. And if we put an outline on it, instead of having it be a fill, you could turn that into a quilting motif that you wanted. You could change it to a triple stitch. Then you can come in and see where those edit nodes are. And once again, manipulate those to make it look a bit better. So I would probably come in here and finesse this a bit. Because it's got some humps and bumps in it. But okay, so that's how that one works. Now let's pick one that's a multicolored. If I come in with this one and let's say we hold our shift and control key down and pull it from the corners, shift just keeps it in the center of the space. You can see how that one kind of wonkied and messed up. We exceeded its capabilities with the holding the control key down. So that would be one that you would either convert it to blocks. Blocks is going to make it blocks of stitches as opposed to an outline format. Now let's pull this one from the corner. That gives you, and once again, it's going to all be grouped, but you can see the difference. If you look at this plus sign next to this, it's broken it down into different blocks for that specific color. So you're going to have more editing along that line. So let me see. Let's say we grab this piece right here and we hit our select tool and select point. You can see how it made that into a real sharp point right there. And you may not want it to be that sharp of a point. I'm not sure what we've got going on right there. Oh, it's a travel stitch. And it's showing you what it is right there. But what that did for me was it broke all of them down into blocks. So if I came in and I grabbed the green, it's in a block formation as well. The whole thing is broken apart into different sections. On the flip side of that, let's get rid of this. If we bring this in and we do convert to outline and convert parts to outline. So instead of having a running stitch for your, oh shoot, my brain is not there. Your musical notes page, it's turned that segment into a fill stitch. Okay, so it's turned that whole thing into an outline. You might find that easier just to redraw, but the nice part of it is those musical notes now, even the outlines have been turned into a fill area so that when you do make them bigger, you're going to have more ability to play with it. So for this one, if I were wanting to make it big, I would probably come in with my line drawing tool and draw myself. Let's see here. Control key gives me my curves. Wrong thing, sorry. The X key gives me curves. I'm in the wrong. Princess, please be quiet. Z goes straight. And I'm going to double click before I get to the end. Now, I only did the one segment. I would want to go back and do them all. But if we hide this piece right here, you can kind of see what I'm saying. It's basically, you would draw in your treble clef. Oh, I got too excited there and forgot where I started. Now, if we want to turn that back on, and let me, sorry guys, the dog distracted me. Princess got a little excited. I'm not sure who's at our door, but somebody is. So let's see here. How could we travel this one with the least amount of travels? Let's do it this way. And what I'm doing is trying to path it to where I have the least number of things going over the top of itself. There is no way to draw this without crossing over yourself. At least not one that my brain can do today. Okay, so now I'm going to grab that and I'm going to press. I'm actually going to delete it. So you can see there's my lines now. And then I would go back in and get rid of these little placeholders. And I would go back in and edit those edit nodes if I didn't want it to be a fill stitch. So it really depends on what your goal is for your final result. If you wanted a running stitch or a triple stitch, then that's the route I would go. And just kind of manipulate them till you get the pieces sitting on top of each other. And then move it into the order of sewing that you'd want it to go, which would be at the very beginning. Okay? Does that answer your question, Sandra? Now, if I had done convert whole to outlines, let's do Control A here and get rid of everything. If I had done this instead of converting parts to outline and a converted whole to outline, everything changes to a single color. And that's not really what you want to do for this one, because it's going to merge the treble. It's going to merge your musical page into your notes, and that's not what you would want to do for that one. Okay. I do have one other I can show you. Let me pull it from my, hold on. Let me pull it from my files. I'm holding my control key down. I just pulled this out of Windows Explorer. This was from the 2,500 bonus designs that we got with the first release of the Aveneer. Now, once again, if it's something that I can just hold my control key down on and pull, then I always try that first, just to see if you can get it the way you want it. If not, then once again, we'll undo. This one, you can try convert parts to outline. I don't know that it's going to do that much for you. It's not. It's gonna, the only thing it made separate was this one. So this would be a convert whole to outline unless you wanted to convert it to blocks. So it really depends on what you plan on doing. If you convert it to blocks, this little running stitch is going to remain a running stitch. It's not going to turn it into a satin. It's not going to turn that into a fill area. If you convert it to outlines, that is going to turn that into a fill stitch. So you can see that it gets heavier that way. So your better option for this particular design is simply to convert it to blocks and then manipulate the best you can. So that gives you some options, and you can delete parts of it if you want to. Let's say you don't want, let's expand this out a little bit. Let's say we don't want this note. Let me hold my Alt key down. If I touch the Alt key and press delete on my keyboard, right on that spot, let's see if I can get the one I want. But that's interesting. So see how I can get rid of that, but I need to attach something. So if I come and touch the Alt key right here again, and let me grab my edit point tool. Now, if I take this point and hold, let's see if I hold my, should be the Alt key, but it's not giving me that option. Why is it not giving me that option? Maybe I need to ungroup first. So let's ungroup. Ungroup. Now let's see if it'll let me do it. It may just be where it's connected. It's not going to let me do it, but we'll try. Alt key, yes, there we go. So now I could attach it to that space, get rid of these little in between edit nodes. And now I've got the one running curly Q there instead of having a note in the middle of it. So that does give you some more options to play with and allows you to keep different parts for what you want. Okay. All right, guys. What else do I have out there today? Somebody asked about making a mug rug. I'm not real sure what you want. A mug rug is kind of a pretty simple project that you can create in your software. It's basically rectangles. So the first thing you would want to do is decide what hoop you're planning on working in. So let me come and grab a hoop. Let's go with a regular embroidery hoop, and let's do a 5x7. So these are my parameters. I'm going to keep it within a 5x7 area. But let's say I want a rectangle over here and a large squarish rectangle over here. How would I do that? Well, just to make it visual for you, we'll draw the rectangles first. These are not things that you would necessarily have to sew. I am just drawing these so that we can kind of get a visual. I'm going to hold my control key down and pull this over here, and we will make this larger. Now, I'm going to make those not so. So those are basically just my placeholders to give me an idea as to what I want to put in there. Now I can come in and create my embellishment first, or I can put my placement stitches down. I would probably go ahead and put my placement stitches down. You can do this kind of easily. For this particular one, where you want to lay down your fabric is the first thing you would put down. So if I hold my shift key down, double click at the end, and so I need to select that and turn that color on. So we want that a running stitch, and I'm going to make it red. All right, so that's my placement stitch. That's going to tell me where to lay my fabric. Now I can cheat. I could put both pieces of fabric down at one time. I could either have them going this direction or this direction. You would basically Just lay two pieces of fabric down. One's going to be shorter than the other. But we would want to copy that and paste it down and change its color. All right. So now you've got your placement stitch, you put your fabric down and you stitch those down together. Now you would open your fabrics up. So you would want to put a stitch around to where your fabrics get tacked down. So we come in and let's say we grab this. And it depends on how much you want it tacked down. Do you want to put a whole rectangle around it, or do you want it just to be a slight piece? I would start right here. Hold my shift key down to make straight lines. And pick a different color for the next part because we would want to flip the other side out as well. And honestly, you can use the same 3 colors. It does not matter. So now I've got it. I've stitched them together. I've flipped one over. I've flipped the other over, and they both stitched out. They're flat. At this point, you could add your embellishment in. So if I go to my Scan and Cut tab, and let's say I import something, what do I want to import? What have I got? Let's see if I have any fun ones in here. So let's say we want to do a bird. I'm going to select it and I'm going to flip it. So I'm going to go home. I'm going to go arrange, and I am wrong button. Wait a minute. Flip. We'll flip it horizontally and I'm going to shrink it down. But let's say I don't want the whole bird in there. I want to have an applique. In this case, I might want to do something a little different, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do an applique for the whole kit and caboodle. So we'll do the applique wizard, and I'm going to change it to a blanket stitch, and we will have it replace. So now I've got a blanket stitch for everything, and I've got my little bird. And let's say we want to add text to it. Evidently, I've got cap locks on. Control plus Enter goes to the second line. You can tell I'm feeling springy. Now, I personally would come in and change my covering stitches. So I would come in and change my covering stitch to whatever color I want my bird to be. Same thing with this one. Oops. Pick a color, any color. And then we want that to be, I'm going to make that orange. And if you want to remove your overlap there from that part, I would not remove it from my tack down stitch, but I would remove it from the covering stitch. So I'm going to, let's see here. We're going to ungroup. In order to mess with it, you got to ungroup it. So now I can come grab that covering stitch. Although for a blanket stitch, guys, this is really not necessary. But you can come in and add a point right there. Right mouse click and say split at point. Wrong half. And then just delete that. Now you've removed your covering stitch. But like I said, for that particular one, doesn't make a whole lot of difference. But so there's your basic item. Now you've got to put it together. Do you want rounded rectangle, or do you want a rectangle? Let's say we want a rounded rectangle, because the only way you can get a rounded rectangle is to start with a rounded rectangle, unless you want to manipulate the edit nodes in every corner. This is the easiest way to do. You choose how much of an edge radius you want. That means how much of a curve do you want it to be. So if you want a more rounded edge, you choose a more rounded edge there. And you draw that. because you can see how it's done my rounded rectangle. I don't think I want that much of a rounding, so I'm going to come back in, grab my edge radius, and I'm going to change that back down to 10 and draw that in. You want it to be inside where your tack downs were for the beginnings. And that's where, before that stitches, so you stitch everything on the front, then you lay your back on top. Usually, it really depends on how you want to do this. So for me, if it's me, I would put 2 folded pieces of fabric with the folds together on top. That way I don't have to leave an opening, and then I can just turn the whole thing inside out and be done with it. But for those of you that don't want to do that, you'd rather have it clean on the back, then you need to leave an opening. So come in, hit your select tool, select point tool, and make yourself where you want your opening. So I'm going to put a dot there, and I'm going to put a dot there, and I'm going to right mouse click and say split at point. And then I'm going to click this and hold my control, oops, wrong one. Hold my left arrow and the control key down. It'll take me to the first stitch there. Now I can get rid of this one. And there's my opening. So that would be my final stitch. For my final stitch, I would choose a triple stitch instead of a running stitch. And there you go. Pick your color, any color. It doesn't matter. It's just a simple color stop. So I'll pick something that's not in the design. And if you wanted to add eyeballs in it, you could always add eyeballs to your bird if you want to. But that gives you an idea as to how to get that going. So I don't remember who it was. It was somebody in the Education Connection that asked that question. So there you go. It's not, that one's not a complicated item to create in any software. And it can be done pretty much in BES as well. I'm going to use silver, and let's once again pick us a hoop. So I'm going to select my hoop though. I want to go to the 130 by 180. Where is it? There it is. That's 5 by 7. We'll apply it, and we want to rotate that. So on this one, the easiest way to do it, since this does have, silver has all of the artwork cut shapes in it, okay? Which means it has built-in shapes that you can manipulate. If you don't have silver and you have BES, then you would use, this came in Power Pack 2. But if you don't have either of those, you can go to your Tools tab, Artwork, and choose your line drawing tool and draw yourself those rectangles once again. I'm going to hold my Shift key down. Hopefully it'll draw me a straight line. And then I will close my shape. And then I'll just select that and copy it. Hold the Control key down and drag it to the right. That's a copy. And this is simply artwork to work with. This is not an embroidery design. It's just artwork to work with. So let's change the second color to something else. Now we would need to have stitches. So you come in and grab your artwork tool. You do have to have at least Power Pack 1 to make this work, because that gives you the convert to run application. I'm going to hit convert to run. And so now I have my placement stitch. I would simply copy and paste that and change its color to something else. And then once again, create your tack downs. Now, we could do this pretty easily if I had drawn it the way I if I had drawn it a different way. You can tell I'm about reached my limit here, guys. We're going to go artwork. I'm going to pick a different color, and we're going to draw our tack down. So I'll hold my Shift key down, and we'll tack down the one side. Right mouse click to finish it and then convert that to a run. Pick a different color. Do the same thing for the opposite side. Right mouse click and then convert that to run. And let's give it a different color. So now you've got three colors, you know, you're there, and then you can bring in, once again, you can import FCM file. And let me find, let's see here, let's grab our little birdie. And then this one, you would convert it to an applique. Now, it may or may not do a good job with a blanket stitch, just so we're clear on that. It depends on how it was drawn. It did not like this, and it does not like that much. So let's come in here and adjust it a little bit. If we go to our Tools tab and we select this piece and do our Edit Shape tool, if we add a point right here and move it down, we can right mouse click and see how that changes where that manipulates. Right mouse click away, and that changes the angle basically. And so right mouse click in, that fixed those. Now let's see what we can do here. We'll add one here, and I'll add one here. That didn't do much for me. It does not like that at all. So let's change these to lines. Huh. Okay, so that one doesn't like me. Let's see if I manipulate it any further. Hey, does not like that at all. So maybe it's not closed. Now let's try it. Nope. All right, so I'm just going to delete that and we'll draw our own. So artwork, line drawing tool. Oh, backspace. I want to close the shape, and now I'm going to right mouse click, and let's see if we convert that to an applique if it likes me. No, it does not like that shape. Interesting. Ah, too small for it to like it. So make it a little bit bigger. Then you can add your points. And once again, if you want to, what am I trying to say? If you don't want the stitches underneath it, you can right mouse click and add a point on the opposite side as well. Since this is a line, you need to split at point. So we would split the line, and we would split the line on this side as well. And then you should see that little extra line right there. Remove overlaps will not work. Oh, it flipped me outside. So it does not like that. That's funny. I guess it's the direction it was drawn in. Huh. I'm finding all kinds of fun things today. And I cannot flip that. So let's try it this way instead. You're going to learn a few things. If yours flips and does hairy bird instead of the blanket applique, you probably want to just change it to a satin stitch. But you can come back in and try drawing it a different manner. Instead of having the shape closed, just leave an open shape. And we'll, oops, backspace, control. Control key draws curves. Let's see what happens if I do this. And then right mouse click. So now let's see if I convert that to applique and change that to a blanket stitch. Does it like me? Yes, there you go. So depends on the direction it was drawn. Oops, I hit the wrong one. Undo. Depends on the direction that something got drawn in as to whether it will like you when you do that. Okay. Then you can come in and add your happy spring. Pick your text tool, your favorite text tool. It does not matter. Happy spring. And pick your color, any color. And then pick your font. So if you forget, the arrow key on your keyboard gives you the preview of your fonts, but I kind of like Quirk, so I'm going to leave it alone. If you wanted to add an eye for this one, you would choose add a design, find something that has a simple circle. I'm going to just come and grab that right there. And then come and look over here, grab that, and move it right there. And then I would delete the other parts of that. So then I just have an eyeball there. Now, how would you close it all up? You can look and see add design. Let's see if we have an applique shape that would work. You do. So you could add this applique shape right here. And instead of having it be an applique, just change it to a run. Now it's going to give you 3 different stitches. You don't necessarily have to use those 3. You can simply use one to open it up if you don't want to have the 2 pieces. Edit shape tool, add a point right here, and then add a point on the opposite side, and then split the line on both sides where you were. Then we should see, oh, did it not split my line for me? Split line. We'll just delete that. There you go. So now you've got your opening and you have your mug rug. Okay, guys, I think I've had enough fun unless you guys have something else for me today. I will not see you next week. I'm on a video shoot in Bartlett, so I will not be here next week. I am feeling better, Sharon. I am not completely over the crud. I still feel like I'm walking underwater at some point. So unfortunately, it is not, this one's not a fast one to get over. It's worse than COVID, in my opinion. And I had the flu shot. That's the worst part, is I had the flu shot and got the flu. And it was a solid week of a fever. Both my husband and I had it. We're calling it the funeral flu because multiple people got it. Glad it helps, Miss Betty. You guys have a great rest of your week. As always, send in your questions if you have questions. Between now and the next live that we do, what was I going to tell you? Boy, howdy, my brain is dead. For some reason, Facebook is putting this under events now, and that is a new thing. Also, just note, these will always live on my YouTube channel, but now Facebook is deleting any lives. Come June, at any lives older than 30 days, they're removing them from my page. I don't understand what gives them that right to make that decision, but they own the platform. So I guess there you go. So any lives will delete after 30 days from Facebook, but they live on in perpetuity on my YouTube channel. Okay. All right, y'all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you the next time around. Bye-bye.